welcome back everybody. Just picking up where I left off on the last story when I was talking about the wasps they were a type of red wasp that was at my dad's house, and how I came back to the country, my house in the country, and I had been thinking of, how in the world can I move the wasp nest that I have on my porch away, because there was multiple wasp nests, and they were out, kind of buzzing around a lot, and the kids were kind of scared of them. My husband at that time was, worried about that somebody was going to get hurt, and his first inclination, he's not really like me about insects and stuff. He, if he feels like something's a threat, he's not going to wait around to see if it's going to sting him or, cause a problem. He's just going to get a can of wasp spray and wipe him out. So I was thinking, man, I don't want that to happen, because, we've got multiple wasp nests around the porch and close to the front door and everything. And, they've been here during the time when the house was unoccupied. They don't know what's going on. I mean, they haven't harmed anyone yet. And, in my opinion, they weren't going to harm anyone. But sometimes when you have small children around, they might do something to, cause themselves to get stung. They might hurt one of the wasps unintentionally, or bad at it or something, and maybe cause the wasp to get upset and get stung multiple, a child might be stung multiple times. So I definitely wanted the wasp to move away for their own safety and just for the peace of mind for my family. Where if it was just me living in a place, I could kind of work around them. I'm not afraid of them or anything, but, with the kids there, I definitely want to move them. So, when I came back to the country after, what I saw, how the wasp acted, and the way that I got this feeling like they were protective and, they kind of conveyed a message like they were a friend. So when I came back to the house, I came outside and I was sitting and thinking about what to do and meditating. And I decided that I would really try to focus on communicating directly. And there were several wasps that were buzzing around, and I tried to make a connection with one of them. Now, probably 3 or 4 just kind of, they just kind of barely acknowledged me, but passed me by. And apparently what they were doing at that time was they were going back to their nest to communicate that I was looking to communicate with their leader. Because, the wasp and hornets, they have like a leader of their nest. So there was one wasp who came out, and I had went and sat in a chair just, a few feet away from the porch, and this wasp came directly to me, flying in the air, but stopped, maybe 2 or 3 feet away from me, pretty close. Just kind of stopped and was in the air at eye level with me. And then that was when I was able to make a connection. And I immediately, when I feel like I'm on that frequency level, I start communicating. I wasn't sure if my communication was going through at first, but I soon found that it was working, because I started communicating that, I really needed them to move. I didn't want any harm to come to them. We were, moving into this house, and I had no intentions of doing anything to harm them, but, I have other members of the family and children, and I don't want anybody to get hurt, and I don't want my husband to hurt the wasp or, destroy the nest or anything. And he certainly can. And the wasp communicated to me a message, because, I was just kind of like going on with these thoughts in my head. I mean, I wasn't like speaking out loud to the wasp. I'm just like thinking these thoughts in my head as I'm like connected on this magnetic and vibrational level as closely as I feel that I can be with it. And I communicated, and I said, because we're here now, was what I thought. We're here now. And this is our home now. And the wasp gave me a vision then a message that said, well, we've been here. And it was like, then I was going to get into, kind of a little debate or argument or something. And, because this house is a house that's been in my family for a long time. So I'm kind of like, well, actually, this house has been, this has been my house for a long time. I mean, I don't know how long you've been here, but, we've actually had this house for many years and da-da-da. And then it was like the wasp just like, stop. And the wasp, in my mind's eye, but as much as, this is where it gets hard to put something like this into words, but this wasp transformed before my eyes into what appeared to me to be a Native American man, an older man, and definitely not dressed in any kind of modern times. I mean, he was dressed in some kind of an outfit that was made of, deer skin or some type of, like animal skin, and was wearing a headpiece that had feathers in it. He had very serious eyes, like the look on his face was very serious, not smiling, anything like that. His skin was, very dry, leathery, thick looking, dark skin. And the transformation of this, it was almost like it was projected in a holographic image to me, in front of me, but that I could see it distinctly in my mind's eye with like all this color and detail and, so vivid. And definitely that transformation made me stop. I couldn't even really have a thought then. I'm just thinking, whoa, what's going on? And the message then was so simple that this man, this wasp, conveyed to me, saying, no, we've been here longer. We've been here for longer than you can believe. And I wanted to respond, but I couldn't. Like, I didn't know what to say because I was kind of like in fear that, like I was going to be attacked or something. I wasn't really sure what was going on. So then his expression kind of changed to ease off a little bit and said, but I understand and we will move away from the house. It was kind of like the message was, I want you to know we've been here for a long time, longer than you can believe, but we will move away. We will do what you're asking. So then I felt relieved, and then I was finally able to have a communication thought again. I was like, thank you. I said, well, if you've been here a long time, then you know that there's a lot of land out here, acres and acres of land that, people don't normally go venturing out into the woods or, around. So there's plenty of safe space for you. And I appreciate if you can move and have your nest moved, because I don't want anybody to get hurt. That's just, that's my main intention. So, then we kind of conversed a little bit back and forth. And I said, how do you know all these things? How do you... I said, wasps don't have a long lifespan. I mean, how would you know something from, because I'm kind of getting these visions. It's like everything's coming. Like I said, it's hard to explain because there's a lot of symbolism and a lot of visions and a lot of information download that comes all at one time. But I'm getting visions of the land kind of like as proof. He's like giving me visions of the land as it was hundreds of years ago and all this. And I'm like, how do you know all this? And the download that was given to me is that these wasps, these insects, they carry memories in their DNA. So even though, you see a typical wasp, and that wasp, I'm not sure what the lifespan of a wasp is, but I guess it's maybe a few months at the most. I don't think they live more than a year, But they have an enormous amount of information that's gathered over many years, because they can pass down information and kind of like memories through their DNA. So they actually hold a lot of information, and a lot of the visions that he was showing me just in a flash was kind of like little snippets of stories over the years of people that have lived on this land, things that have happened on this land. So it's like all of this information is stored in these creatures in a way that we can't imagine, you know. I mean, I had never thought of anything like that, but the Wasp, after I had the conversation, because, you know, I just thanked him for his time and, you know, for working with his people or his, you know, other creatures to move and, you know, to make this possible. And immediately, whenever the vision of the man faded, the Wasp was like instantly gone. I'm looking around like, where did it go? And I see all the wasps start coming out of their nests, because there was multiple nests all along the front of the house and the porch area. They all start coming out and buzzing around and moving around. And I don't know what all they were doing. I guess gathering things or, you know, making their preparations to move, because within just a few minutes, the swarms of hornets started moving out away from each nest and flying out away from the house. And some of them only went, you know, maybe about 50 or 60 feet away to, you know, a tree that was nearby. Some of them flew off over the tree line, and I'm not sure where they went. I guess somewhere else on the property. But, you know, within, I'd say 20 minutes after this encounter, every single wasp was gone from the porch. They left their nest behind. I went and checked, and they were all empty, like you see whenever you know, find an abandoned wasp nest or whatever. And to this day, which that was probably, gosh, I believe we moved here in 2014, the spring of 2014, and now it's 2019, and never again have any wasp or hornets or any type of flying insects that would, you know, normally people are worried about being stung by them. And never have any of them tried to make another nest anywhere on the house, around the house, on the porch area, anything like that. I have had, I do still see them flying around sometimes, but as far as setting up like their home right there on the house, they do not do that. So that was my experience in 2014, and we're almost up to the experiences that I had that led me to create the page that I have on Facebook, Communicating with Non-Human Creatures, A View of the Unspoken World. That happened in 2016, so we're getting closer to that. But I want to thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll join me for my next program. I'll see you then.